While we aim to achieve technological intelligence that goes beyond mobility, we face a dual challenge. AI can be both a tool for threat detection and a means for launching attacks, a true double-edged sword. The following panelists will expand on this complexity. Please welcome Mr. Charbel Sarkis, Director, Systems Engineering, Fortinet, Dr. Ibrahim Gideon, Executive Director, GuardianSafetyNet, Kyle Murray, Dean of Lazaridis School of Business and Economics, Wilfrid Laurier University, Nizar Wafa, Identity and Data Protection Lead, Middle East and North Africa, Cisco, Sam Reisa, Dual Account Executive, Mobile Networks, Middle East and Africa, Nokia, and our moderator will be Manuel Gallo, Director of Cybersecurity, NEC. Let's give them a round of applause, please.
Thanks for waiting even after the lunch and waiting to see us. Just as an initial introduction about myself, I would be shy to make any introduction of what NEC does after the previous presentation from NEC. Just to mention that in terms of the cybersecurity and AI, NEC has recently deployed several very special initiatives in Japan around cybersecurity, around threat intelligence, and we are proud to have been engaged in AI since a few years ago in many different initiatives, including many of them, as we usually say, around the human and the healthcare science, like creating, based on AI, some impressive systems for advanced early oncology detection, down to the latest agentic AI systems we are implementing in the cybersecurity. So I am still, let's say, learning and say a qualified spectator of the real experts that we have here, who, of course, they have a huge amount of knowledge, much more than me. I would like, if possible, to allow them to introduce themselves very briefly, please. We'll start with you, Kyle.
Sure. So I'm Kyle Murray. I'm a behavioral scientist, so I'm a little bit of an odd duck at this conference with all the engineers and technologists. But I thank you, Tony, for inviting me. It's been a wonderful couple of days. I've learned a lot. I'm also the dean at the Lazaridis School of Business and Economics, and you may not have heard of this school, but you've probably heard of our namesake, Mike Lazaridis, who was the founder of BlackBerry and Research in Motion. And my interest has always been at that intersection between behavioral science and technology. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Kay. Nisar?
All right. Thanks very much for being here. I really enjoy the opportunity. My name is Nizar Wafa. I look after the user protection suite and identity security in Cisco Systems in Middle East and Africa region. And today I think we'll be sharing some insights on how identity plays a major role in protecting users, protecting devices, and also protecting systems that we use to do our jobs.
Thank you. Charbel?
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for Telecom Review for having us. Really happy to be here. My name is Charbel Sarkis. I lead the systems engineering practice in the Middle East, focusing on telcos and service providers. We work a lot with our partners here in the region, and hopefully throughout the conversation, I will share, some of the experiences that we see in the field. Like those are the challenges that we face with our customers, and maybe we can relay some of the solutions that we see in the market.
Thank you. Summer?
Hi, everyone. Yes, please, I want to also thank Telecom Review for inviting us to attend and continuing this great tradition of meeting all the telco execs in the Middle East and globally. My function within Nokia is I'm the DO client executive. I'm responsible for all the Nokia business with DO, but I also have the hat of leading AI initiatives at Nokia for Middle East.
Thank you. Ibrahim?
Exactly what Samir said about Telecom Review. And I run a multi-operator public safety network focused on fire, police, and ambulance. So excited to see so many faces here, and hopefully we'll keep it lively. Cool.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Let's see, the subject today is related to data privacy and AI and cybersecurity and AI. So I'd like to try to make some questions to get your opinions. First of all, trying to position the environment we have today, and then how we will lead into the unknown future, like all those people who are trying to explore Mars and all the unknown places in the universe. So regarding, first of all, let's say the basic things that we probably need to protect and that we probably need to be very well aware of, being data privacy, digital identity, digital signature, security, risk control, regulatory environments. I'd like to ask, for example, Nisar, what is your view on how the regulatory environments and data privacy regulations and some standards that we have today, how do they intertwine and how do they contribute to the global cybersecurity? How do they impact some initiatives in many, many different businesses like the zero trust environment? And lastly, how can AI help, or exactly the opposite, to achieve these targets?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the question, Manuel. Now, when we talk about data privacy, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is trustworthiness. And trustworthiness of what is the question? Is it trustworthiness of solutions that we use, products, technologies? The answer is trustworthiness of systems that people use on a daily basis to do their job. And trustworthiness is difficult to really measure, but we can put a framework around how it works. So we can start with, for example, some of the 3 pillars that would make up trustworthiness. So I'm going to start with transparency. That's very important. Telling people when their data is collected, for how long, why is it used, why is it being collected, how long is it going to be retained, and then also, when do we destroy this data? And I think people have the right to understand how this works. Then this takes us to the next pillar, which is accountability. Accountability means that now that I know that you collect my data, how do I give you a responsible product that is going to handle that data with care? And an example of that would be, for instance, when you create a product into the market used by people, it has to cater for data protection by design. It has to cater for data privacy by design, and it has to cater for data security by design as well, by default. And the objective here is not to hinder organizations, but rather keep them compliant. So these are actually business enablers. So if you're able to utilize a technology that will provide you all of these, it will help you to comply with global frameworks. The third pillar is fairness. So fairness is around assuming that everybody has the right to knowledge and education to gain access to information around privacy in general. And that will help societies to come together for a greater cause, understanding privacy, and how do you develop that as well. In Cisco, for example, we've got NetAcad, and data privacy is an integral part of each and every topic that we teach to people and students, and we continue to do that. So now that we have a very quick understanding of data privacy, I'd like to zoom in a little bit more on digital identity. Digital identity is a unique identifier for people and devices as well, right? And it's important to explain where identity is created. It is created today in identity and access management solutions or platforms, if you will. And identity and access management will have a complete life cycle, starting from enrollment to operating system login, application login, and then also mid-session, which is a very complex topic nowadays, all the way to help desk. So hackers or intruders today understand that you have an MFA, So there's no rocket science around that. And when you are trying to log into an application, they will try and find different ways to still access these applications by, for example, trying to enroll into a system utilizing certain TTPs. They will try to hijack a session. So that's beyond the typical security that we look into. And therefore, the traditional concepts of utilizing something that you know, something you have, or something that you are, or a combination of these to enforce the principles of zero trust are not as effective as they used to be. We have to look into user behavior in order to make an informed decision. Is that a legitimate user or not? Is that the correct are these the typical circumstances that surround this user? They're trying to log in at a strange time from a trusted device. Shall I give them access or log them out? And you will see that there are lots of global cybersecurity frameworks beyond ISO 27K, which is primarily used for setting up an ISMS, and then ISO 27701, which is for identity security. There's NIST, for example, 800-63, which is mainly focusing on digital identity guidelines. And then also you'll find great zero trust practices in NIST 800-207, which will give you a lot of these great practices for zero trust.
Thank you, Nasser. Just one quick response to this next question. Around all of this, Nasser, do you believe that AI will help more than what AI will get in terms of privacy?
To me?
I think it's Heather.
Yeah. It's a really good question because if you look at the trends, vendors, operators are struggling to keep up with regulations and security standards, right? So these things are like city codes. You don't build a building unless you know exactly what codes you have to comply to. We have these regulations like ISO 27001 and others that you have to comply to. But on the same sense, the bad actors are not actually committing to stick to those, right? So they're actually trying to break this. They're much more agile and do not have rules to regulate them, so they're trying everything. So if you think on one side, we need to, as partners together with the operators, be fast enough to understand the ecosystem and understand and adapt our capabilities, but we need the flexibility to even exceed the regulation in order for us to use AI in a defense mechanism. So bad actors will use anything. We talk about zero trust network architecture. I'm saying zero trust everything. ZTE, but it doesn't work very well with my sponsor. But zero trust everything is a principle by which you really cannot just trust anything happening in the network, and you have to, as Nizar mentioned, start implementing by design principles in every element, secure by design, resilient by design, private by design, redundant by design. And I think, I've had a good CTO in my previous role and who taught us that these principles are not simply recommendations or add-ons. This is where your core product propositions come from, with the hopes that AI becomes a tool for you to be agile and to be able to, as much as possible, defend versus the threats. To answer your question, in summary, AI is a really good tool if used properly to give yourself agility, to detect, to proactively isolate threats and take actions so that it does not spread vertically or horizontally across your network infrastructure. And as guardians, as operators are guardians of the security of nations, they need to be able to have the flexibility to adapt these changes within their organizations. But in my opinion, this flexibility that those bad actors have in using AI now will continue to be an advantage for them unless we have at least to match their speed in adapting the technology in our favor.
Do you believe it's a matter of adapting technology or a matter of adapting regulations, or maybe both?
Again, how fast do we adapt regulations? It takes time. So while standards may be a little bit faster, you, I think, need to have partners on your side that are ahead of regulations. Regulations always catch up, but you need to be able to have the basic capabilities to defend, to isolate, and then, okay, what does the regulation say in order? That will be the catch-up phase. Now at this stage, again, we don't, a bad actor sitting down wanting to do denial of service attack will use every weakness in your network to get in, from people to processes to elements. They're not governed by regulation. So put regulation now aside, protect your network, and then come back and see what you can do to make that regulation a bit more flexible.
Manuel, it's not my turn, but I want to
No,
build
of
up
course, yes.
on what
Yes, of course.
Samer is saying. I think one very critical point, if you don't know what you're protecting, AI will not make you better. AI will make you worse, right? So it's you need to understand what you're protecting. There's an exercise that we call crown jewels. Those are the things you need to protect, and what you hope, because the actors are faster, more agile, the new tools, as Sam is saying, let's not get buried with the word AI. Like my favorite cartoon is somebody saying, would you like French fries with your AI? It's like you're going to McDonald's. So I think we need to sit down and say, do we know what we're protecting? If we have shitty security, AI will make it shittier. So I think it's critical to sit down and say, okay, how fast can I react? That's the key thing. So if somebody's attacking me 10x, is my response 10x? So traditional response today, whether it's in my previous job or my current job, we always find out after they've been in. So the key for us as an industry, how do we sit down and use all these tools, artificial, by the way, why do we call it artificial intelligence? Like, what's artificial about it? Can we use the intelligence to start predicting and then protecting the things we care about? Because let's be very honest, if you care about everything, you will never protect your enterprise. And I think I'm summarizing what Samer said, which is very critical. Your response time is reflective of the tools you use. If you think the malicious actors are good and they're using all these sexy tools, you better have a response for them.
Well, malicious actors are always technically good by default.
Well, they're motivated by finance. They have no regulations. Usually the ROI is very quick. And then the worst case scenario is they're crooks.
So they're much more agile than,
Like 100%.
than the rest of the world. And regarding your other comment, I usually call it like no wind is good if you don't know where you're selling to. So that's something clear. Thank you, Ibrahim. Sarbel, we are discussing about technology and about regulations, and you are also coming from a large global vendor and with experience all over the globe. So how do you see global organizations can achieve regulatory compliance goals and cybersecurity held by AI goals in this environment where there are different regulations everywhere, where compliance requirements are different everywhere, where Donald Trump yesterday announced he will ban all regulations about AI in each of the states, allowing only one federal regulation for everybody, and where, in my experience, for example, being European, I'm not shy to say that Europe is clearly declining in many aspects, but Europe is growing a lot in exporting regulations. So it's like a factory of regulations that everybody else is probably copying very often. Data privacy, cybersecurity, and many others. What is your view about the best way for global organizations to be able to meet regulatory compliance at global level, if it's possible or not, and how AI might help to do that?
Okay, so that's a very tricky question.
Of course.
Achieving compliance at a global level. It's, I mean, they have to do it at some point, but just looking at what we see in the field with our customers, there are a lot of commonalities. And I always do something that is interesting. I compare that inwards to Fortinet, to us as a company. At the end of the day, we are a global company. We do have R&D lot of data to protect. We do have manufacturing. We do have a supply chain to protect. We do have cloud presence everywhere in the globe where we're handling customer data. And each one of these pillars that I just mentioned needs to be compliant with some sort of regulator in some continent on Earth. So just to answer your question, it's not only the field or the market or the customers that we deal with, it's us as a company. We're doing this already to comply with all these regulatory frameworks and compliance frameworks.
When you ask a vendor, right?
Exactly. So we're doing it. We're doing it anyway, and we try hopefully to apply what we learn internally in Fortinet. We try to apply it with our customers. So what I think, and this is what what was mentioned before, the most important thing is security by design. And this is something that is easier said than done, especially with telecom service providers or larger organizations that have a multitude of departments and of people leading different teams and different initiatives within the company. It's very difficult to embed security by design whenever you're doing something new. So this is the challenge. And the other thing that I might add and wasn't mentioned yet is applying first principles. Because when you look at a problem and you apply first principles, you go back to governance. Let me give you an example. You would have like a compliance standard, let's say ISO 27001. And there's one line item that says you need to patch your network, or you need to do vulnerability scanning and patching. Something very simple. Now, think about it. Why do you want to do that? You want to do that to discover vulnerabilities and patch them so they're not exploitable. Well, why do you need to patch those vulnerabilities? Because I have some data to protect. I have a bunch of data to protect. Why do I need to protect that data? Because it's confidential and important, right? But this is where it stops. Well, why is it important? Well, because it's important. So it all boils down to governance of data. Now, adding AI to the mix, and this applies to service providers, I think, because service providers are not only going to be adopting AI, they're going to be running AI factories where they're selling AI services, GPU as a service, for example. So not only they need to comply in the country where they're living or where they're operating, they need to comply with each and every customer that they're serving, no matter where that customer is coming from. So within the sovereignty or within the security framework of that AI data center or AI factory, you would have islands or silos where different security controls are applied differently depending on the type of customer or where that customer is coming from. I said a lot of things. Probably I said nothing. At the end, it's really it really boils down to first principle security by design architecture. It's not the product. It's how you architect and you think about security while you're working on the product itself, rather than the security controls, because the security controls are everywhere. A lot of vendors do those.
Yeah, I remember when I was working many years ago for a U.S. company, I was always fighting with our legal team. Company was headquartered in California.
You fight with everybody, Manuel.
Yeah, of course, I know. And at the point when I asked our lawyers team, my customer is not in the U.S., so I would need a different regulatory compliance. Can we do that? They said, yes, of course. We can do with Far East regulations. Guess what? For them, Far East was New York City. So the concept of regulatory, sometimes some countries, is very different. So depending on the country where you are.
Yes and no. And this is something that I've been noticing in my 20 plus years of doing this. It is different, but if you break it down, there are a lot of commonalities between these compliance frameworks. So if you really break it down and you start with the common stuff, you end up with minor things that you need to comply with here and there.
Yeah, you can see, for example, data privacy regulations in almost everywhere.
Almost universal.
are just copy
Yes,
of
yes.
EU GDPR. And you can see Japan, you can see Bahrain, you can see UAE, you can see many different environments. It's almost a copy. So
A lot of commonalities.
those
Exactly.
things,
Exactly.
and it just makes sense. Thank you. Something practical, Ibrahim. You're running very large critical services network. And even more, it's in a non-profit model, what is really different from what we see everywhere. I would like to ask you, in your experience, how AI is impacting both the operational aspects and the security aspects of such a critical network.
I think I need to start off that my clients are non-technical. So working in an operator where you have an engineering team of 100 or 200 people, there's like two guys. And they do everything. So it's very critical when you think of, Manuel, when you think of AI, you're adding intelligence. So you need to design it right. So for example, you run 600,000 people with the team is 23 people. Because you start with saying, okay, I don't need this job. So we use artificial intelligence not to cut costs, but to be more efficient. And in terms of security, a lot of us here, I mean, I don't know if my esteemed colleagues will agree, but if somebody wants to hack into something, they will hack into it. So where I spend most of the money and effort is on tokenizing the actual users and encrypting the data, the actual relevant data. And that's such a non-trivial job because they store everything the way it is. So if you look at where policing, for example, is going, these people have 10 hours of video cams coming in. So it's very critical to sift through what's relevant, what's not relevant, and then the stuff that actually applies, tokenize it, encrypt it, and secure it. So I don't know if we're very AI savvy, but we're using all the tools available. And the vendors tell us they're all AI. Because I'd love to see a vendor not selling AI.
Yeah.
So it's all AI based, it's all fantastic.
You can find a few.
They're not in business. But I think the key for us, and I think Sharbil said it, Nasser said it, Samir, and I'll reiterate it. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, don't bother. Why waste your money? Spend it on some good food. Dubai is fantastic. I'm enjoying myself. So please, come up with a strategy, so whether by design or not, and then you need to identify what is critical to you. And in my case, when you talk about, forget about not-for-profit model, we can talk about that over a glass of wine, but for us, the critical thing is these people don't know what they need to protect. So the most important thing for them is the members, their private life, and what assets they have allocated to them. The other second most important thing for our customers is the end users, be it the patients for an ambulance or the criminals for the police. And those are what we call the crown jewels, and we protect them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I understand there are real human lives depending on your network operation,
100%.
accuracy, security, etc. So it's very, very critical.
So the reason I said multi-operator, I don't mind the network being down. But I do mind somebody finding out where a police officer lives.
Yeah. Of course. So, Kyle, as a behavioral economics expert,
Kyle is the only one who knows what the hell's going on.
but we all have to thank you and you, Ibrahim, for the book we are all having access to now, with an amazing vision about where we are going to with this AI, I don't know if revolution or evolution or what, but where we are going to. That's a very, very interesting vision. So I would like, Kyle, you have lots of experience in finding out how people behave, how people self-regulate themselves, how people tend to behave before different environments. And we have seen also earlier with my colleague from NEC Japan, considering AI and robotics as a partner to human beings. So I'd like to get your view about where we are going to and what it really means for data privacy. Mainly because yesterday I was on a private trip to Spain only for 3 days, and I was coming back to Dubai yesterday, and I couldn't believe when I went in Madrid airport, when exiting the country, they were scanning my hand luggage, and a part of my surprise, nobody was there, only machines, an AI system managing everything. Then suddenly an officer came to me and to many other people. By the way, the system takes much longer than before the AI because they find so many more suspicious things in the luggage. And the guy came to me and said, I know some of your medical conditions include blood pressure because we saw the system tells us some of the medicines you are taking with you are for blood pressure. But what are the other medicines? So to me, I suddenly felt like, this kind of intrusion, why should an officer at the customs get this kind of information while in non-AI, other classical environments, I need to give my permission for everything, for the purpose of my personal data, for automated processing, what AI is massive automated processing. So what is your view about where we are going to and what will happen with data privacy?
Yeah, it's a tough question, but yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think there's what you just described is scary, right, for a lot of people. I'm not going to give you a technological answer. We have a lot of amazing technologists and engineers here, and you've heard a lot of good solutions. And I've been in the conference last couple of days and heard some really interesting technological approaches to some of these difficult problems. But if you'll indulge me for a minute, I'll talk a little bit about the human side and the behavioral side of trying to deal with these privacy issues. And if you think about, I'll talk a little bit about one of my favorite scenes in a science fiction movie ever is in the Terminator, and Arnold Schwarzenegger walks into the police station and asks to see Sarah Connor, and they tell him no, and he says, "I'll be back." That's my terrible Austrian accent, but everybody knows that phrase. He comes back and he kills everyone in the police station, and that's if you talk to the average person on the street or the average citizen about AI, that's their concern, is that there's going to be this super smart AI that's going to kill all humans, right? And that shouldn't be our concern. Our concern, especially in the short term, should be around privacy and security and some of the things that we're talking about at the conference. But I think what James Cameron has over telecom companies and technologists is the ability to really tell a good story. And what we're often missing when we talk about these things is the narrative or the storytelling piece of it. I mean, Nizar made excellent points about the pillars of what you need to create trust, right? Things like transparency and fairness. But those are all subjective things. Those are not things that we can just write code for. They're things that we need to tell stories about to convince people that we are in fact safe, that their data is safe. And when you have those interactions like yours at the airport, when somebody knows too much about you, it becomes really creepy. And we've had over the years, really since e-commerce took off and people started to really shoot for this, and I've heard this a few times at the conference, this one-to-one relationship with customers. Because you start to know too much about people, more than they want you to know about them. And if you share that at the wrong time, then the story you're telling them is just about as scary as the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger as a Terminator coming into that police station. So I think that's where we have to be really careful. And then we're talking about regulation and the role of regulation, and there's probably a role for governance and governments there, because this is sort of an exogenous thing beyond the control of individual companies. But I think my big message for this audience and for people who are worried about data privacy is it's a lot more about the human side and the storytelling. When you talk about the consumer and the average citizen and the people who are voting for these regulations or voting against them, and the politicians that you want to get a message across to, it's much less about the technology. There's not really a technology solution for that. It's more the storytelling and why would we or how would we convince people that what we're doing we should be trusted to do.
No, but sorry, I'm going to, Kyle is my partner, but I disagree. I think when human beings want security for themselves, for their identities, there is a percentage of compromise to privacy. So they can't have everything at the same time. So for example, like I loved Facebook, and then I landed in London, England, this is 8 years ago, and it made me recommendations for Italian food. I signed to Facebook with 3 steps. It took me 11 steps to make my account dormant. So there's a lot of convenience. So I'm not disagreeing with Kyle. I'm 100% supportive. But when somebody steals your identity or penetrates your network, then you say, oh, well, why aren't you protecting me? Well, you signed 700 rules. So you look at the telcos, I feel sorry for the operators. They have so shackles around privacy to protect the actual user. But when the user is hacked, they said, well, telco didn't protect me. So I think maybe it's storytelling, Kyle, I'm with you, but maybe we need to educate it that you don't have privacy. Maybe the police should have access to my cameras, not inside the house, but outside my house.
This is why we make good co-authors. There is a gap between engineers and behavioral scientists in how we think about humans, for sure. And I think we agree on a lot of things.
We agree that I'm right. Like you need.
But yeah, I think where I would disagree a little is I don't think the average person, the user, the voter, the politician sees compromise with their privacy. I think they want to see privacy be an absolute. And they are going to blame you when it fails.
I know.
And so it's important to tell that story. It's a little like airlines. You're not going to see an airline ever advertise that they're the safest airline, because if anything goes wrong, it completely destroys the brand, right? So you can't advertise as a telecommunications company or promote yourself as being like 100% secure, it'll never be broken. But you can tell stories around what you're doing and the importance you put on things like transparency and fairness and trust, and I think that'll help. Facebook is a horrible example of for privacy, right? I mean,
Zero privacy.
right? Yeah, it's not like we've been waiting for AI to destroy privacy. I think that's already happened, and we can thank Zuckerberg and others for that.
In another story, back in 2009, I was working for a US security company. We're trying to sell, and successfully, by the way, digital certificates based on cryptography, etc., as a replacement, among other things, of passwords. And one of the marketing tools we used was open initiative in the streets of San Francisco, offering people a chocolate bar in exchange for their email password and their name and last name. And guess what? 80% of the people decided to trade their password for a chocolate bar. So let's not be too much
people don't
pessimistic about these things, because I guess we who work in this technology sector sometimes have different perception than those outside this sector.
It's funny because people don't really understand their own data and their own privacy in that way. But if you think of it in a retail context, people, if you are at a cashier, they do not want to give their phone number to that cashier, but they'll often give their postal code. If you give your phone number, the company knows nothing about you. They maybe can call you.
Or hand the credit card over, and you don't know what they're doing with it.
Yeah, right. But if you give your postal code, I can tell you a lot about you and your family based on where you live and the geodemographics. So even from an individual perspective, people don't know what data they're giving up a lot of the time.
Good. Okay, so thank you all. I think it's time to start to close. I'd like to ask each of you for one last comment, one last conclusion, one last additional sentence, whatever, starting with you, Ibrahim, for example.
For example, or starting with me?
Thank you.
Just one brief thought, and thank you for the diverse questions. And from a technical point of view, we talk a lot about AI. All I'm saying is find out what you need to protect and then how fast you want to protect it, especially in what people are talking about with quantum safe and that being available. I think that's critical. And I might disagree or agree with Kyle, but I think we as technologists have a massive education hump towards people's expectations on how privacy in particular impacts loss of wealth. people don't care if you see something they don't give a shit about. But if you see something or you steal something they care about, it's a problem. I'm passing it this way, Manuel.
Yeah, sure.
Samer, por favor.
Just to build on that, I think what you started out with, what's important to you and what do you need to protect? And I would add on top, who are the partners that you need to entrust to make sure that you're secure as much as possible?
No, Nokia, for sure.
We have products
Obviously,
created by design, secure. But I mean, Tony, I think you want to add that.
No, I have to question when you're done. That's it. It's question or comment? I don't
Yes, please.
At least continue.
Okay. So I think, yes, of course, the partnerships matter. I think one of the messages we talked about was AI is a tool. If your partners present to you tools to help you be agile, protect what's relevant, that's a partner you want to have a discussion with immediately, because you will only know or you'll be able to react. The other bad actors don't have regulations, don't have to stick to standards, but that's our job to help you get there.
excellent. So I can say the same thing that the gentleman said, but let me take a different approach. I think we can all agree that security by design, focus on the data that matters. This is where you put your most investments. I'll talk about something a little bit different, which is the move, especially in the leading GCC countries, the move to build AI data centers. And this requires new type of thinking on how to secure these AI data centers. And I'm not talking about AI factories that are going to be delivered by the likes of XAI or ChatGPT or Gemini from Google. I'm talking about the AI factories that are going to be built by the service providers, the likes of Do, Etisalat, STC, Mobily. And in those data centers, there are going to be islands or silos of services that are going to be offered to the market. This is where hospitals are going to come and run their LLMs. This is where government entities, insurance companies, banks, and this requires us to find to come up with a completely new architecture in securing these data centers. As far as we're concerned, this is what we're putting our most focus on: a new architecture for true multi-tenant, truly compliant AI data center.
Thank you.
All right, so a lot of talk about data privacy and zero trust. I guess we all touched on that point. Now, ever since our friend Stephen Paul Marsh, I guess that was the gentleman who coined the term zero trust, and then all the frameworks in between, like OSSTMM, Forrester and Gartner, and then the United Kingdom, the National Cybersecurity Center, who adopted the real principles of zero trust from a practical standpoint. They all agreed on one thing. They agreed that never assume trust, always check, always verify. Why? Because adversaries are always ahead of the game. So I think if we adopt the mindset of an adversary, it will make us think in a much better way. Frameworks are frameworks, regulations are regulations. They will continue to evolve. But I think if we adopt the mindset of an adversary, I think we'll be thinking out of the box. I think, in fact, we would be way ahead of the regulations as well. My 2 cents.
Thank you.
Great. I'm like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of the odd duck in the room, being a behavioralist with a lot of engineers. I think one of the reasons, you've heard a lot of really good insights on security and privacy from a technology perspective. One of the reasons that Brahim and I get along so well is that we constantly disagree with each other, and I can say that if you, what I agree with Brahim on is, I think it is really important to set expectations on privacy because it is a subjective thing. But I can tell you, as those in the telecommunications industry, you set out to educate people. There's no one out there waiting for you to educate them. Right? They do not want to be educated by you. But if you can tell them a story, if you can engage them in a narrative, and you can get them to start to understand what you're dealing with and what they're dealing with, and that it's not, the concern is not Arnold Schwarzenegger walking into a police station. The concern is that your data and some of your privacy is at risk, and that these are the companies and these are the approaches that we're taking to protect that data. I think that's a story people are open to. They're probably not open to an education from the telecommunications industry.
Okay, thank you. So I hope we have a...
Manuel, just in fact, comment. Thank you for all this diversification, this panel. So it's interesting. But there is two factors. For the public security, there is the regulation is very important. For example, GCC, all the cameras with the street, even if for private building, or the parking or the multi-stories, should be kept, that should be kept minimum 6 months to 1 year in all GCC. The minimum is 6 months. So even this, and the police or government, they have access anytime, and even they check every new development, they check before allow anyone to live or the office to be used. No license until they verify this. Second, for the public people, okay, there is a factor here of the age. New generation, they don't care about their privacy, okay? And we can see in all social media from Instagram, go on, or TikTok. They don't care like our generation about anything. So this also play another, concern. That's all. But thank you all of you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll have a picture on the main stage. Very interesting things talked about. I'm glad I deleted my Facebook 2 years ago. Just a quick picture in the middle. Thank you, gentlemen. One more time, let's give them a hand, please, a round of applause. And we will keep some of the chairs on stage. All right, AI is considered both ubiquitous and a buzzword, but what happens to buzzwords? They tend to fade. So how do we ensure AI goes beyond the hype and remains a lasting force? The following panelists will debate just that. On stage will be Dimitris Lioulias, Chief Strategy and AI Officer from DO, Simon Uziwek, VP Business Growth and Strategy, Middle East and Africa, Comark, Yasmin Rifai, Public Sector AI and Digital Transformation Expert, David Ehrlich, Director Business Consulting, Sofracom, Kenan Jarrah, Senior Product Manager, AIOP's MyCom. And our moderator will be Ahmed Riyad, Senior Director, Strategy and Industry Development, Huawei. Let's give them all a big round of applause. We'll just wait for the rest of the panelists to get their mics up. Meanwhile, whoever has their mics on already, they're on stage, you can start your discussions. Can we get their mics on this side, please, Tech?
Hello, hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yeah, the mic works well. I think we're still waiting for 2 more speakers to get the mic on, but it's very interesting to have this, to moderate this panel with very much of very well-respected experts in the industry, esteemed panel of speakers. Yeah, now I think we're going to be ready. So it's great to be here, and of course, thanks to Telecom Review, and thanks to Tony and everyone from Telecom Review. And let me ask you a question. There was 2 words that every single speaker in this whole summit said on this stage. Every single speaker in every session mentioned those 2 words. Artificial intelligence, exactly. This is the most frequently used 2 words on this stage during this Telecom Review Summit. Of course, the second most used 2 words were Tony Aid for sure. But this session is about AI. And it's very interesting because when we talk about AI, there's always this question, is it an overhype? Or is it exactly getting to fulfill the promise that we think it will do in terms of the fundamental transformation? And even some people would say, actually, it's an underhype. It will give an even much more fundamental transformation and change for what's going to happen in the whole industry. And I think this panel is exactly about that, about the artificial intelligence beyond the hype. What is the practical implementation of it, operational-wise? What have been used in operators in different consultancy companies with public sector experts in this panel? And this is the whole discussion going to be about. So the discussion is going to have 2 rounds. One round, we're going to explore with the speakers and experts the strategic overview of the discussion on AI. Is it beyond the hype? Is it overhyped? What's the reality of it? And the second round, we're going to go a little bit deeper in terms of the operational aspect of it, some concrete examples. And if we have time, we might have 1 or 2 questions from the audience. So let me start, but maybe before we start the first round of questions, we can start with a very quick introduction for yourself, for each of you, maybe like 30 seconds or 1 minute max in what you do in your business and your affiliation. So please. Sorry, David.
Okay. So I'm David Ehrlich. I'm working for Softrecom. Softrecom is a subsidiary of Orange, which is a consulting firm concentrated on supporting operators in all their activities. So we are working in AI through dedicated practices for a while. In general terms, here we can see a little bit more because we are a sponsor of this event and we are somewhere in the nearby. We just also to mention that we support also here DUE through a program which is called Orange Alliance, to which we bring the expertise of the Orange Group to operators who are joining this program.
Thank you very much, David. Dimitris?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dimitris Lioulias. I'm a Chief Strategy Officer of DUE. I'm sure everybody here knows DUE. Hopefully, most of you have DUE in your pockets. My role is to develop the strategy of the company and push for its execution. But as an industry veteran of more than 20 years, the most important point of discussion is the new hype, is AI. We have been around a few of them. Some of them materialized into something meaningful, some of them less so. Let's see what we think about AI.
Great.
So I'm Simon Uczciwek. In free translation, it is honest man. I represent Comarch as VP of Business Growth and Strategy in MEA region. I would love not to have to introduce what Comarch is, but after 30 years in the market, but maybe I will say a couple of words about that. So we deliver software products for telecommunication sector, mainly in 3 areas. First one, OSS products, which are focused mainly to support autonomous network initiatives. Composable BSS tools to address some specific or some problems, needs on the market with set of products which can combine in one set. And combination of that, which is quite emerging on the market, which is critical communication, where you need a software product to support that from both business part, but also from operations.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yasmin.
And I didn't say AI in my introduction, so this is why I'm.
But you're going to say it in the panel, so still applies. Yeah, Yasmin, please.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. First, thank you for the invitation. It's good to see a lot of people are still after the end of the sessions. I'm Yasmin Rifai. I'm the CTO for the public sector in Microsoft Kuwait. Over 15 years, I've been working with the government leaders on their national transformation and now recently on their national AI agenda. From software engineering to consulting and latest at Microsoft, I've been working on designing and scaling transformation. It's a pleasure again to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Yasmin. It's great to have a public sector as well perspective in this discussion. And Kenan, please.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for having me on this panel. My name is Kenan Jarrah, and my role in MyCom, actually, it's about managing all the 2 famous word AI products, which is actually MyCom. It's a software company provider, mainly focusing on focusing on the network and services assurance, leveraging the data and AI protocol stack. I've been in the AI for telecom since the early stage, 2017. And today we will discuss a little bit about how the network evolved for the AI and what is the agentic AI and the automation.
Thanks. I'm going to talk a lot about that, by the way, in the second round.
Yeah.
So maybe let's start the first round, which is about strategic vision and the overall view. And since everyone has a Do phone in his pocket right now, as you said, Dimitris, I'll start with you. So the question is, as we move towards AI-first ecosystems, we heard this sentence a lot. How is Do prioritizing which business area to convert first? And how do you balance between the immediate need for efficiency against the long-term vision of AI transformation?
That's a very good question, especially because when we talk about AI today, and everybody does, the expectations can be huge. One quite a well-known report on the industry talks about 8 to 10 percentage points EBITDA improvements as a result of AI for a telco. Amazing. Where do I sign up for that, right? The reality that we see is, on one hand, maybe, probably, those benefits will materialize at some point in time. We are not there yet. We are not close to that yet. And when we try to identify the areas of focus for us, and the question of AI first is very important, because we don't see AI as something you put onto a process that works or that doesn't work, and magically everything will be much, much better. So when we talk about AI first, we want to see at end-to-end processes. We want to look at end-to-end journeys that we have to redesign with AI in mind. We believe that this is the kind of approach that will deliver the results that our boards expect from us. There are a couple of areas that we believe are the more interesting ones to apply AI. We do have customer experience as one of these, the first area where we invest, and we're working to ensure that as we digitalize all our stack and as we redefine how we go about our business, we do so with AI in mind. The second area, and very important, of course, is the network. We see many improvements when it comes to operations, when it comes to cost, when it comes to optimization of CapEx. And of course, we are looking at commercial areas where, by introducing AI and allowing AI to support decisions, we will be able to address the customer in a more targeted way. Mm-hmm. So these are the three areas where we focus on.
Okay, great. I mean, thanks for this kind of classification and segmentation. It makes it much clearer. And you mentioned about growth as one of the areas. So I'll go to Simon, maybe, talking about growth. So everyone is looking for growth, apparently. And from your perspective, where does AI offer the most tangible potential to create new ARPO when you talk about like right now, not in the long-term future? Is it through hyper-personalization, for example, or is it through more new B2B revenue streams emerging from your experience?
Yeah, this is a very valid question from the perspective of AI use cases and business expectations. So when we think about AI and where we started with AI, were use cases when we have seen impact on productivity. So we started automating processes, as you said. This is one of the areas you would like to see AI implementation. So the focus was rather on productivity increase and some cost cuttings, but it is of course not something which impacts directly revenue. So especially in telco, when we talk about average revenue per user, when we talk about this business, product managers, so the people who are responsible for creating new offers, of course, they utilize AI. There is a lot of analysis which must be done, and they are supported by AI. They challenge their offers with AI. So The first use cases where we implemented AI in our BSS solution, so I will go to the more technical part, were CRM and product catalog. And B2B is a nice example, I think, when it comes to utilization of AI and in context of revenue increase. When we talk about B2B, the offering is much complex than for residential customers. We can think even about the offer about as a small project. So to prepare the offer and then execute, we have to verify a lot of, verify technology, if it is capable to deliver. We have formal aspects, and then when everything is agreed, we need to also prepare execution plan. And in product catalog, it took days, weeks to prepare that offering. With AI assistants and agents, it is possible to verify that, of course, having all information about the offering and technological support, we can prepare that in minutes. And the same is to prepare some execution plan, so it is much faster. And this is touching very important aspect for business growth, which is time to market. If you would like to attack or to attract or to win B2B business contracts, we need to respond fast, and we have to execute fast. And this is one example when AI can help. The second example where we can see support is intent-based offering or in the intent-based ordering. When we have customer on a call or customer interacts with any other channel, we can easily, or he can easily say what he's needing. So what is his need? Sometimes it is in context of some claim, yeah? And having access to his activity data, usage data, like all data related to the offering we have, network data, issues he has, it is easy to even this complaining customer to convert the customer who can be attracted with other offer, more adjusted to his needs, and probably even more expensive. So this is the second example where AI can be very helpful in building a new business. But we must remember that to make it happen, we need to have very solid integrated data about customers. I mentioned this data, like usage data, activity data, issues data, network data, all data available to automatically respond properly to the customer need. In this particular cases, AI will not fix bad data. So to really benefit from AI, we need to have very solid information about our customers. And for example, I think I will bring some example about some solutions. So at Orange, we built a very multi-vendor, multi-layer network inventory with orchestration on FTTX. And it is possible to provision the customer in minutes. So only with this kind of solution, you can think about utilizing AI scenarios because you have all foundations which is utilized for that automation, yeah, because it is easily automation.
Great, so great examples. You already went into the concrete examples now. That's great. And mentioning Orange, and we have also do mention some examples regarding the EBITDA and the growth and productivity. Maybe I'll go to David. So, because I mean, in Softcom, you have a very unique view across multiple operators. So my question is related to that. When assessing an AI hype, which business areas are actually ripe for conversion today, versus or where do you see the biggest gap between the reality and the ambition or the hype, if I would call it?
Okay, thank you for asking me. Really, the most mature use case and the one which is by far emerging as a majority in terms of benefits is obviously customer value management, CVM, where really we moved through a transition where we started, because it's the oldest case, we started with more clustering techniques, stochastic techniques, to machine learning, which, let's say, forced operators to reorganize themselves around machine learning, to now, as perspective, to introduce agentic, which enables to enrich the value, enrich the data, enrich the information you can gather to do CVM. But CVM brings value, and we increase ever the value of CVM with the next best offering, with this positive impact on churn. The business case is really straightforward. Second area, which is also becoming increasingly developed, is really everything which is linked to operations, network operations. For instance, Sofrecom, we have developed an offering around mobile network monitoring using agentic. So it really works. You are able really to gather information, which can be some information stored on racks, real-time tickets, and other knowledge database together to support the NOC employees really to determine what can be root cause and to do other actions. You have also everything which is linked to agents, sales agents, which can really get information because big operators have an issue with their huge offer catalogs. They have a lot of old offering, and the matrix, compatibility matrix, is very complex. So instead of having fixed templates, which can be cumbersome to update, LLMs can give you results. And also they are in control environment. They don't go in front of the customer. They go in front of agents which can get control. And last but not least, one thing which is very useful, it's the literacy of your workforce. Because we have, for instance, Orange has put in place a tool called Dino2, which is a control environment for LLM usage of employees. So they don't have the shadow IT, and they do it themselves, and we can go through capitalization internally. What is a little bit far ahead is probably monetization. Monetization is a little bit difficult. It's even difficult for pure players, for operators. It's difficult to have AI direct monetization, AI as a product. Other thing which is a little bit far ahead, I think, is complete automation, level 5 automation. For reasons which are coming also from that with AI, you don't get an explicit rule of what we are doing. So it's very difficult to give control to a machine where you don't know exactly what are the grounds and what are the mechanisms which are conducting to one action or to another. So it's kind of philosophical question, very interesting for AI to see how use it for decisions.
But you think we're going to get there, to this part that is still a little like monetization, things that is still far ahead? You think we're going to get there soon, huh? Or still it's very hard?
Yeah, monetization, direct monetization is something which is, give you an example, Orange Business Services offering Dino2 as a commercialized Dino2 as a product to enterprise, which is helps to enterprise to use LLM for their own employees. But it's not a game changer in terms of revenue. It will not change completely the rule of the game. So today, we are more in let's say, evolution of a situation than something totally different. There are opportunities such as GPU as a service, but it's costly, and the ecosystem of AI is not completely stable as far as data center GPU is concerned. So are operators the right to invest right now in GPU as a service? It can be a question.
Great. So we're still in the evolution, optimization, not the revolution yet. We're going to talk about this, I'm sure. So maybe after these views from private sector, I'll go to Yasmin. I mean, as working from Microsoft for public sector and working a lot with governments, my question would be, how does AI conversion shift when we look at the public sector? I mean, as government go for their digital transformation, for AI transformation, are they demanding different capabilities from telcos compared to private sector, or it's the same?
Yeah, absolutely. In the public sector, the conversation is not about technology. It's about national transformation and nation building. So when the governments adopt AI, it's not about optimizing like one single function. It's about reimagining how services are delivered at scale, securely and ethically. And that's why also we are seeing that telcos and tech providers are asked to be more strategic partners for the government rather than only providing infrastructure. If we look at the Middle East, we are witnessing multiple, I would say globally, would be referencing how private and public sector would collaborate with these strategic partnerships that we keep witnessing and being announced on a regular basis. And I think that's why Middle East is now leading the AI era in a way, or in this specific aspect when it comes to public and private collaborations. For example, in Kuwait specifically, I had the privilege of leading the strategic partnership between Microsoft and the government of Kuwait, where it became the national foundation for the national AI transformation. And that's where the strategic partnership between tech providers, hyperscalers, and industry leaders are becoming like fundamental and essential to achieve the national visions in the Middle East, if you consider the Middle East, and their long-term objectives, which is way different than traditional transactional enterprise deployments that we used to have before.
Great. So see it more as an ecosystem rather than a transactional one-to-one, like enterprise to government kind of thing.
Exactly. Like these strategic partnerships are created to fulfill and to create. They're co-designing the AI ecosystem and the nation to achieve the nation building, including talent, skilling, and all the aspects that we need to achieve this national transformation.
Yeah, clear. Thank you very much.
Ahmed, if I may add something to this. And I totally agree with you, Yasmin. The AI results, when we're looking at it at the national level, is not the responsibility of one entity. And as telcos, we have a very important role to play here. For one thing, we need to develop the infrastructure that will move the data from X location to Y location, from one data center to another data center, submarine cables that will take the data outside of the country, and so on. So that is a given, and this is our traditional role, and we'll continue playing it, and we'll continue investing in that role. But what we see as well, and I think David touched upon it, we do see, especially in our region, where there is very high aspiration when it comes to AI, very significant investments regarding AI, and we are in an environment where sovereignty is very well protected. We see the national operators as a natural partner. And I talk about partner, I don't talk about the provider or a vendor, where with the investments you can make on data centers, on GPUs, on platforms, on a big part of the AI stack to support in a sovereign way what the governments are trying to do, I see a very big role for cooperation and for partnership between the operators, the governments, and other players as well. Hyperscalers will have a role to play as well. The model providers will have a role to play as well. But I see telcos, especially in our part of the world, a fundamental part of this
ecosystem
success.
or this partnership, holistic partnership, you can say.
Correct.
Yeah, great. So, I mean, I think we talked about strategies and partnerships and the ecosystem, but at the end of the day, if I go to Kenan, I mean, strategy relies on the network at the end. Like, we're talking about infrastructure at the end to support all that. So, my question to you is, I mean, when you talk about this deployment, large-scale AI monetization strategies, so in what ways our underlying network design evolve in this direction? Are current networks ready to support the demand of AI-first ecosystems?
Yes, Ahmed. So speaking about the network design, TM Forum in their ODA, Open Digital Architecture, they specified that the network design should evolve to be something they call it AI native, not AI enabled. What does it mean? It means like you need to embed the AI operation and capability inside all the network function, network components. Now, they emphasized on two pillars to enable this AI native networks, which is the first one is the data foundation, and everyone is speaking about data foundation, but data foundations mean enabling all the feature of real-time data streaming, data quality check, data preparation, data correlation, aggregation, everything about the data, and prepare it to make it available for the higher layer and the AI layer. And the second pillar, they focused on how to move the network to sync and autonomously act and perform a specific action autonomously. Now, in this also, they specify the journey of enabling the AI to move toward autonomous network, and they make it simple. It's 4 functional blocks. First of all, you need to make the network aware. which they call it awareness, then the analytics, then the decision, then the execution. So it's 4 functional blocks, and AI should be embedded inside each of these blocks. Now, in MyCom, on top of the AI native things, we think as well, there is should be a bigger layer on the network, which could be a brain of the network, or could be some a supervision layer of the AI, which should look for all AI native components, because it's need to orchestrate end to end, and this will work hand to hand with the fulfillment engine to orchestrate all the actions and activity, which is inside the AI native component to achieve a thing. Now, the question is the network ready? I think we can say it's partially ready, right? And it's evolving. Now, for example, when we talked about this for a functional block, now operators are able to do awareness through AI, right? They can use forecasting, anomaly detection, all of this kind of machine learning is available now. They can start building these use cases also for the analytic and root cause and correlation. And the decision now, there is a specific agents which do correlation, which is it's in production and it's available now for the operator to start. Is this taking me to the full autonomy? Not yet. It's the next step is to enable this reasoning and thinking of the network and start taking autonomously an action. Like, for example, I need to prioritize the video traffic in this area because I have an event. This is all happen automatically, and AI takes the decision and do that. This is how it's going to be evolved, and this is where it's going.
If I want to be a little bit annoying and go a little bit deeper in that, my question is, do you think it's more of an AI strategy first, or infrastructure upgrade, or fundamentally shift first? Which one do you look at?
It's always about the strategy, because what you need to achieve, it should be applied on the infrastructure later on. Yeah.
So you start with the decision, and then you say what's the requirements from the...
Exactly.
That's a great, I would say, holistic ending to the first round on the strategic view. And maybe if I go into a little bit more concrete examples, Yasmin, you mentioned skills actually in the public sector. So I'll take this and ask Dimitris from private sector regarding the workforce now. When we talk about integrating AI tools like copilots, it's actually a major culture shift. It's technological shift, but also culture shift. So how are you approaching this in to ensure enterprise productivity, efficiency, and also how are the teams adapting?
One thing we said at Do when it comes to AI, we said we have to train everyone from the office boy to the CEO. And what we have done in the last year is create courses, training opportunities for entry-level awareness of everyone regarding AI. There are, we heard it in the other panels as well, fear of AI is taking my job, all the way to AI will kill us all. So we have to inform people and make people aware of what AI does and how it helps you be more productive. So we created an awareness level development and learning. We created specific learning paths together with a number of our vendors and partners for people who use AI in their day-to-day job, and they have to be more of experts in AI, and also all the way to the executive team. We are going through AI-related courses to ensure that there is a very good understanding at all levels of what AI means. As we're saying before, the strategic level, all the way down to how does it impact my day-to-day and how it can help me. So the cultural resistance is something new, it's something very big. It's always going to be there. We do see most of our people very eager to embrace it, very curious about it and how we can use it. At the time when we didn't have copilots in the company, many people were already well aware and familiar with how to use AI tools because they were doing it on their own, not with company data, but with their own data and with their own in their own time. And we do see that this impetus to do more with AI and be more educated with AI is really helping how we move ahead with it.
I see. Very clear. So, Simon, you mentioned in your first intervention about the different, like, predictive, analytical, different examples of deploying AI. So my question more is the predictive one. In the topic of predictive maintenance and network design, what are the key challenges that you see in integrating these AI models before large-scale deployment? How do we ensure reliability of these models?
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, the question is about reliability and if AI use cases are sufficient for complex network operations. Dimitrios said about quite important aspects related to human involvement and how we trust AI and how we go from try to sync AI, then implementing co-pilots and probably progressively to agents and further. I would like to go once again more to technical aspects. So at Comarch we invest when it comes to AI in network operations. We invest in two areas. One is of course autonomous networks. So we with agents and with other AI tools we support like this closed loop approach. It was mentioned by Kenan in a moment, like from detection to decision, execution and validation step. We support these steps with AI, and we think that it will lead to some kind of dark NOC, which means like fully automated networks in the future. And the second part of our work is like when it comes to how long we do it is more mature. It is digital twin. And here we started with this predictive maintenance, anomaly detection, some issues forecasting, like I think 5 years ago, we implemented in Japan. And they, today, I think they claim according to TMF standards, already mentioned like 3.5 in their autonomy. But what is important in implementation of digital twin? So first, we need to have very exact data about the network. So we have to have multi-layer, multi-vendor, multi-domain network inventory. And then we see that the full digital picture of your network. But we have to do more to make this digital twin alive. And this is where we see AI and where we started heavily working on the scientific project even. Because it is a quite tricky case to simulate the traffic on the network, on this digital mirror of the network. You need to also implement all protocols. And they differ by, of course, by domains, but they differ also by the vendors. And so this is not easy case. And here we see that AI, which is trained, like this neural networks trained on the real traffic on the data, can train that network and then using that configuration verify how it will behave in context of the simulation of changes of the network or issues on the network. So this is where really the AI can help, because without AI it is almost impossible. Without good data it is also impossible. But there's also another element, because we thought about this reliability and how we ensure that everything we have with AI is valid. I would like to touch one additional case, which is auto-discovery. It helped a lot implement network inventory for many operators. I think without that, it is not easy to succeed in this kind of the project. But it is also very important in context of this validation step. When we introduce some automated changes to the network, then we can validate how these changes were implemented on the network, and also with this auto-discovery it is possible. So we have to rather think when implementing for the network AI use cases, not about this AI first domains, but rather data first domains.
I see. Very clear. I have so many questions in this. I work in standards, but we have time when we have to go through the speakers. And I go back to David and also on the same line of questioning on the concrete kind of very short-term reliable implementation. Looking ahead in the next maybe year or like 12 months, like immediate, what is the single most critical factor for operators to successfully move from AI experimentation to industrial scale value?
Okay, on this, there is, can answer it. There is two facts which are AI really specifics and two others which are not at all AI specifics. So what is really AI specifics is everything which is linked to the data pipeline, because to feed your AI, you need to have trusted pipeline. When you run a POC, you are in control, proof of concept, you are in control environment, you know where are the data, you get a commitment to get available data, you have the correct labels, and everything is in place. When you move to operational conditions, then you get troubles if the pipeline is not set correctly, because your data cannot have the accurate refreshment, you can have change in fields, etc., which makes your use case completely obsolete as soon as you implement it. So you need to have really these pipelines in place. The second thing, which is really AI related, is really to have MLOps, to be sure that you are able to constantly improve your models, to retrain them, to monitor them, to enrich them as well. So you cannot handle this AI project as you're doing with IT, where you have releases. You have really to have people in place, and here probably you have to trust into to invest into an AI fabric which is able to support you in doing this process. Then you have other areas which are not AI related, which is really related to innovation. One thing is to get, it's obvious, but to get the support of your business owners, because if you have an innovation entity which is doing a lot of things without business owners, with people really interested, then you are sure that your POC are going not to fail and not going to be into production. And here you have really two areas today. The first area is, as I mentioned, the area linked to efficiency, where you get really return and really good support from operational people, as they're going to do the effort and support the transformation. On the sales side, if you were willing to innovate on sales side, you get always the same issue with putting into the market an innovation, that it's often colliding with other objectives, which are objectives of bringing revenues in a shorter term. And this is where you have to do choices between your sales objectives and your products, let's say your standard products, and the innovation products, where you put additional effort for short-term returns. But this is not AI specifics. And then the last thing, which is also very common and a little bit more specific to AI, is governance, because you have to monitor everything, because you have a lot of expectation around AI. You have to put in a lot of hype, as it was the name of the session. You have to manage the expectation toward your management, to put the appropriate governance to make sure that expectations are set right, to have the right KPIs as well. Plus, there is something which is specific to AI, which is ethics, because as opposed to standard IT, you have issues in the outcome and the results of what AI can bring. So you have to monitor this, which is a little bit specific to these projects.
Thank you very much. Great for examples with different segmentation on them. So my last two questions actually for the panel is about agentic AI and AI agents. One is going to be for public sector perspective, and the other one is from the network operations and automation perspective. So I'll start with you, Yasmin. As we deploy AI agents and automated system in critical public infrastructure, how do you handle the governance aspect? Like, what are the risks that we need to manage in this aspect?
When we deploy AI in the public sector, and specifically in the critical and public infrastructure, I believe the starting point should always be the why. A recent study states that 50% of the executives don't seem to find like the investment, the ROI over the AI deployments investment, and that's not because like AI doesn't work, of course. It's because sometimes, and in some cases, the purpose is not clearly defined. And like here, the governance becomes like very simple. We have to define the mission, the why behind the system. We have to protect the system. We have to have a clear data, secure data flows, a clear human oversight, and then deliver the public impact. And like I see in the Middle East, we are prioritizing the innovation over structure and governance. Like Europe, for example, or maybe outside, they're prioritizing the structure and governance over the innovation, especially when it comes, for example, AI or agentic AI. And this is, I think, where telcos, industry leaders, hyperscalers, and the strategic partners for the public sector entities have to work and co-design together operational models and the data models that will create a national AI reliable at scale.
Great. And maybe on the same line of agentic AI, but from like a NOC or SOC, like Network Operations Center or Security Operations Center, we hear a lot about this agentic AI deployments. And can you share how this differ from traditional automation? And what are the benefits actually that you're seeing in this area?
So maybe the simplest way to describe it, the automation is like controlled by fixed rule. So every time you have the incident, you will have the same action every time. So this is just rule-based. While in agentic AI, agents, or there is a smart agent which is think, plan, and then execute. So this agent, it will be developed to be kind of experts. So you will have agent for performance management, agent to optimize RAN network or whatever. So there is like what we are seeing, like most of the organization now, they will start creating an innovation team, which is just building, and we already doing this, just building a specify agent, an expert agent in different domain. And on top of this, there is like a layer of, let's call it supervised agent, which should orchestrate all of these agents together and all the output of these agents. And this layer, it's mainly responsible of reasoning and select what the actions need to be taken, which agent and which tool need to be called. Some of the tools could be MLOps, machine learning models. Some of them, it could be an agent expert in a specific documentation and reading from Huawei documentation, for example. So like like our vision is now it's going to be an agent openness, and we will see maybe later a standards of agent to agent integrated. So you can integrate agent from Huawei with agent from Nokia or agent with MyCom, and with supervised like agent which is orchestrate all of these things together, and even in the operator as well, like they can make agent for human resources, agent for the other. So that's what's agent, what exactly agentic AI is different from the automation.
Super interesting. I mean, I also have a question, but maybe I think now we can, if you have any question from the audience, I think we still have a few minutes as time, so we can have one or two questions if there's any. I'm looking. Yes, we have one here, please. Can we have a mic here, please? Can we have a mic here? Mic.
It's coming.
Handheld mic. Yes, it's coming.
Hello. My question is to Dimitris. We are seeing right now, in terms of the adoption of the AI technology, we're seeing two approaches with CSPs around the world. Some are focused top-down on specific use cases, and they try to then engineer it in a vertical way, top-down, defining objectives, KPIs at the use case, and then going all the way down to enforce that use case. And then they'll expand in this way, use case after use case. And some others, having something very interesting, one of our largest customers have done something called an AI kitchen. So they're building like an AI factory, and they want to disseminate the AI tools and say, let the people experiment everywhere, and let's see what comes out of it, because it's through experimentation that things will emerge, the right ideas, and we will see where we can get value. Which approach are you favoring? One of these two approaches, or is there a third way? What do you think the most effective way to go, in adopting AI? Thank you.
I will tell you. Thank you for the question. I will tell you what we thought was the best approach for us. There are a number of limitations with data that we have because we are heavily regulated. We take data protection very seriously, and there are lots of obstacles in putting our data on the cloud. And many of the vendors and the use cases that they were providing were on the cloud. So what we decided is that we are going to build our own factory. We're going to build our own factory, which we did in the course of 2025. And that is the basis for developing use cases and agents that are requiring PII to be used for the right results to emerge. We are working in parallel with vendors, either existing vendors or parties that we are not cooperating yet with, to have other cases that are not requiring data that are sensitive. So for us, developing the factory was fundamental to be able to drive our own skills, to drive our own IP, and use it for the sensitive data. I know that others have done in a different way, but again, there was no option for us to go one way or another only. Both factory and third-party use cases and agents for certain use cases.
Very interesting. If we don't have other questions, maybe I'll try to combine all my questions in one to anyone of the panel who want to take it. So many of you mentioned standards between different interfaces. Many of you mentioned governance as well. When we talk about AI beyond the hype, we have standards, we have governance, and we have regulations. Which of the three you're thinking we're doing a good job and which we need more work? So are we under-regulated with AI or are we over-regulated? In terms of standards, do we need to standardize more? There's a transition gap? Or there's more, let's leave it to the market and see how it works? Also same with governance. Are we okay with what we're doing, the speed, the development of AI governance right now, or do we need to do more? So you can pick and choose any of these or the relationship between them. So governance, standards, and regulation. How are we doing in terms of AI and AI hype? Any of you would like to take this one?
I can start with, like, the standard is very bad on AI. Yeah, you see everyone is doing their own APIs, their own way of agents. There is no standardization yet that it's controlling all of this together. So I think the standard is good. I think we are better in the governance overall, but the standard is still not up to the expectation. Yeah.
Okay. Any other views on governance, regulation, standards?
I would say the governance is very important, and especially for us that we deal with everyone's personal data. When it comes to aligning the governance with the regulation, try always to do our best. We do recognize that in a technology that is so new and so impactful, probably we are going to over-engineer the regulation or the governance initially until we see the impact that it has and how it can be used in the right way. But I believe it is, for now, it's necessary, even though it is more over-engineered.
I see. Clear. Yeah.
I think that it's difficult to comment on regulation because regulation doesn't come from us. It comes from, let's say,
the regulators.
The common. So I think governance is still something on which we have our capabilities. So it's quite very important to keep governance on all AI projects. And so this is something which is, I think we have still efforts to do to make it real and more mature.
I see.
I think like all of that are important because this is technology, so it will evolve exponentially, and we are on the hype, so it means that there is more expectations that technology can deliver, and then there will be, of course, more value than we can notice. In fact, when we are on a hype, we are testing, we are verifying, we are preparing ourselves, we are building the solid data for that, which is a crucial part. So I think it will evolve in all aspects, and we will see more and more output in all areas. And this is valid for the technology. Like, after the first flight by brothers, right? Like the first commercial flight over the Atlantic was like 3 years later, yeah? So you know how the technology can be fast.
Of course. Yasmin, do you want to say something about the
Because our time is up, I'm just going to leave like by one message bringing the public sector perspective. I think the ROI of AI in government, the real ROI is public trust, and that we earn through defining the mission, protecting the data, and designing from the beginning for real impact through strategic partnerships, public sector collaborations, and proper governance as well.
Great. Best ending for the panel. Thank you very much, and thanks for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Panelists, thank you so much. We're just going to have a picture right there, center stage.